Alright. We're back, people. We are finally back. This is Jordan here, of course, back in another video. And it's been a good, I'm getting bothered already. It's been a good, 2 weeks since I've been in front of a camera. And boy, what a time has it been. I'm going to talk briefly to start with, about where I've been and, what I've learned and da-da-da-da. But the primary purpose of this video is to discuss my strategy, next year for the third year of my engineering mathematics degree. And a lot of this, technically speaking, it should have come 6 years ago when I started uni. I should have actually thought about how I learned and what I was going to do and how I'm going to get out of this institution. But now is as good a time as any, to finally figure out some sort of strategy, some sort of plan. Because usually I think most students kind of leave it until last minute. When I say last minute, I mean not even last minute before the year starts, but last minute before the exam season. Or I was like, oh crap, let me actually figure out what I got to do, what I got to learn, what my goals are, etc. But for the first time, I'm actually going to try and take this year by the neck. Have an active approach to my learning. Take it seriously, as deep down, I've always wanted to get a first. I think most students always want to perform, but once you get into the institution, you start to realize these other things to do outside of your degree. Going out, meeting people, being independent, and plus, one thing that bothered me in my first year was all the PhD students, all the postgrads, my lecturers, my tutor, my own tutor was like, you know what? I like your ambition, but firstly, it doesn't really count. So make sure you have some fun. And telling me to, say, make sure you have some fun. Of course, I'm gonna, over immerse myself in the scene, and I played myself. Of course, I do have other things. I did have other things going on in my previous years that led to me making mistakes and led to me falling behind, not being up to scratch mentally, not being able to stick with it throughout the whole duration of the degree. But first of all, now that I've been through all of that, I can appreciate how important it is to stay up in the good times, so you can account for being down in the inevitable bad times. But more importantly, I've learned that it's not always okay to just wait for things to happen. For example, my second year when my mum was diagnosed with cancer, that took a mental toll on me. But that didn't happen until January, Feb. What was I doing from September to December? I could have done better, is what I'm saying. And there's always somewhere in the line, in any circumstance, where you can take responsibility for your actions. And the best thing I can do now, again, is now that I'm on a relative up, I'm chilling in Bristol, let me put my head down and at least have some sort of plan so I know what I'm getting into next year. And then inevitably, when something always goes wrong, at least then I have some sort of way to navigate through that. Or at least I can be up to date up until that point and then figure it out afterwards, instead of being so far behind and having to do so much under so much pressure. So for the duration of this video, given an extra minute or two, I'm going to talk about my plan for third year. But before that, where have I been for the last 10 days? And why is that? Why is this video now significant? So for you guys who don't already know, we're currently not even midway through. This is day 27, I believe, of the 30-day challenge. So it's not even I have much left to do. I could have just put out mediocre content and called it a day, which I actually have. I actually have 4 videos already prepared on my laptop, but they're all just, again, mediocre. And I could have just put them out and called it a day, so let me just get this over with, finish this challenge. But deep down, I was like, yes, as much as I want to complete it, I didn't want to lull myself into a false sense of security. Not even security, but it's I didn't want to just put out measly work, in this endless pursuit for perfection. Not even absolute perfection, but at least something that I'm genuinely proud of. If it's a good video, this is going to be a relatively good video. I'll put it out, but I'm not going to sit here, watch it back, edit it, and this isn't all that good, and then still put it out. At least make it good enough that I want to watch it. Something that I actually care about. And the other 4 videos that I planned, they're good, but I wasn't into it as much as I would like to be. And then what happened was I was back home in London for a while. A lot of my friends were having birthday parties, leaving parties, people who have graduated having parties. Of course, my siblings are off of school, and it's the first time I've really been home for a while when they're not in school. So it's I really took time to to live my own life. And again, I easily probably could have put some videos out. But then again, I left this camera in Bristol. So I have my phone, but no tripod. So it would have been more walking around. I could have done something, but I figured, what? While I'm here, usually I've got other things on my mind. I'm stressed, I've got to put this video out or revise for this or reply to that email. I was like, you know what? For these 10 days while I'm at home, let me just give my 100% to whatever I'm doing that day. If I'm going out with this friend, I'm giving that friend all of my attention. Maybe I'm planning to meet them at 1 and go home at 3. But if they say, you know what, you want to hang out a bit longer, some drinks, I'm going to make sure that I'm available to hang out for a bit longer and get those drinks. It's important to not only to do things that satisfy you, but to do so without the guilt of everything else on the back of your mind at all the times. So that's something that, again, I took pride in doing that these last couple of days. And we're finally back to get this challenge over and done with. So where does that correlate into my third year strategy, and like what's my approach for next year? First of all, as I said, I want to take an active approach, but what that generally means is that I'm going to start working, little and often, as in like an hour a day, but like every day throughout the course of the year. No more is like hard and fast at the last minute, let me do 24 hours the day before my exam and getting no sleep and da. Like, if you know that you can give 24 hours to your exam and pass, then instead of doing all those 24 hours in one day, do an hour a day for 3 weeks, 24 days, an hour a day. And you'll be there. If anything, you'll be even further ahead, because you would have given yourself the time to reflect and to sit on it and to sleep and to have a good physical and mental, health going into it. So having like a little and often approach to my learning, something that's very, very important, especially in the means where I want to balance all of these other things. Like, I want to be able to give 110% to everything that I do, and that's only possible with like an actual plan, instead of going into each day not really knowing what I'm doing. Like, oh, should I make a video? Should I make a podcast? Should I revise or do this or hang out with that person? Like, having a coherent plan from day 1 to day 365 or whenever my exams are next year. I just threw a year on it, but it won't actually be a year. It's probably like 280 days or whatever. The point is, having a coherent plan is valuable, and that's something that I'm looking to do from today moving forward for the rest of the year. I also think having a 5-year plan, I've always kind of thought, a 5-year plan is like, it's become like a meme for young people. It's like, how am I supposed to know what I want to do in 5 years? Like, to some extent, it is like, I understand the meme potential there. It's kind of silly to just say exactly where you want to be in 5 years. But what I've also realized is that it's all good and well to have incremental progress and to work towards something in the short term. But what actually is that something? What is your actual purpose here? When you're going through difficult times, how am I convincing myself each day and night, like, you know what, I'm struggling now, but it's going to be worth it later because I'm going to be here or there, or because I want to be getting closer towards this. And I kind of got to a point where in school it was I wanted to pass my exams, and then in sixth form was I going to pass my exams, get into a good university. Now that I'm in uni, it's like I want to get this degree to get a job. It's like I don't actually need the degree, and I don't actually need the job. Like, fundamentally, I need to be earning money so like I'm comfortable in life, I'm financially free. But I don't need to work to do that. Like, I can invest, I can create my own source of income and passive assets like the podcast and YouTube channel and those other things. Now that I see multiple paths, I've started like being passive and working towards loads of different things, but only like here and here. And as I said earlier, I want to give 110% to everything that I do. And it's hard to do that when you're doing 110 things, right? And what does that mean? In a nutshell, my secondary approach to third year is to actually commit to third year for the first time since term 1, year 1 for me. Literally from September until Jan, I was like giving it my all. And then in January 2017 when I started this channel, or Feb 2017, sorry. And from then on, my time has been split, and then from then it's been increasingly split. Like, I started trading for a little bit, trading Forex markets for a bit in second year. Of course, the podcast came this year. I've been investing for a little while. All these other things. Like, I tried applying for like different roles in university, like for positions of responsibility. And while these things are all important, again, it's difficult to start doing these things, at least without sacrificing time elsewhere. Like, I still spend time watching shows on Netflix or like cooking. To be fair, I've stopped cooking properly. I now like bulk cook for the week or something. So I've streamlined some processes, but fundamentally, either you have to give up even more time or just stop doing certain things. And the sad truth is that I can't there are things that I can give up. There are things that I'm not prepared to give up. And at that point, you're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice. I'm going forward. One thing that I think is going to take a major hit is, unfortunately, this YouTube channel. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be putting videos out. I'm still going to be documenting like the internship game, maybe like a few vlogs here and there as an engineering student. But this whole like creative side of it, this whole like investing, like, because even investing, for example, like I'm not even in the best position to invest. I haven't got a sustainable source of income. I'm not working. So what can I actually do with my money that's more feasible? Like, how can I be more secure paying bills instead of having to sell off a bunch of stocks last minute? And just actually building towards a more sustainable future the easier way. Because at the end of the day, investing is a good strategy, but it's like, unless you have $1 million or something invested, you can't really just retire or not work. You still need to have some sort of a good foundation, a good base. And while again it's good to build towards that, I just kind of put $1 million out of nowhere as an arbitrary number. But $1 million, if you're saying like you get 8% returns every year, that's like 80 grand per year. So you can actually live off of 80 grand per year. If you only have like 1,000 invested, 8% of that is only £80. Like, that's not enough investment to live off of. But again, going off of that, like I've become very active in passive means of making money. For example, the YouTube channel or the podcast, I was very active for a while. 2 episodes a week, I was posting on the Instagram page. But then in the meantime, I was becoming very passive on my active streams of revenue. You know, for the first time in ever, I haven't had like a proper job. I haven't had any secured means of making money. My degree, my academics kind of like went down the bin, especially because I'm doing a mathematical degree. Like once you stop doing the math and you stop practicing, it becomes very difficult to like keep up to date. You kind of fall behind, and you got to relearn the fundamentals and kind of get back into the swing of things. And that repetition is very important. So I became very passive in my active fields of learning and investment and income, and it's got to a point now where like it's just not sustainable anymore. Like I have to commit to this degree. And even though I can figure out, find a balance somewhere, it makes way more sense to put everything else down, down tools and just go all in on this option. Once I'm comfortable with this, with third year, once I'm comfortable, I've got good exam results, so I have a good understanding of what I'm doing, then I can find ways to like put more things in. Like let me put some more time back into YouTube or to podcasts or to hanging out with friends, all these other things. But in the short term, like it's ludicrous to be like, you know what, I'll figure it out later, and to keep on saying I'll figure it out later, because at the end of the day, either one, I'll figure it out and I'll pass with like average grades based on the time that I give it, or two, I just won't do very well, or three, I'll either I do well or I don't do well. Regardless of that, it will just be a very, very stressful year trying to balance things out in real time, when instead I can just take, put this flag in the ground now on day one and say all of this other stuff, chill. I'm gonna stop doing that. So the second, again, the key thing that I want to do this year is make big sacrifices in terms of the time that I invest into this channel and into the podcast. And that's something that I kind of learned over the time off of this challenge. I was like, this really is, even though it's not that much time, it probably adds up to like 10 or so hours a week, even outside of the videos, just thinking about it, having that guilt, that burden on my mind, like I've got to prepare for next week's video, or what am I going to do? This last week's video maybe wasn't so good, it was a bit stale, the numbers didn't really add up, so let me put more time into like another Bristol video, or like another investment video, or another internship game video. And it's difficult to keep on creating new things, which is why my approach instead is going to be to document things here and there. Again, I'm going to be documenting, following my journey for internship game, and maybe some other videos, some investment stuff here and there. But again, primary focus, I'm active learning approach to my third year this time, because I can't be bothered to fail again. So let's finally get this bag, and then we can talk about everything else along the way. My third and final point for my strategy for next year is having. I mean, I'm always kind of auditing anyway, but I want to be in a position where, relearning how to learn. And I think that's very, very important, especially going into 2021, 2022 season, where it's like hybrid learning or Zoom, not as much online stuff, not as much in-person stuff as usual. It's going to be a very different landscape. Learning how to learn is very, very important. And I think a lot of young people never really figured out what works best for them. You kind of just go into school and school just do whatever school do. But what actually works for me, that's something that I've got to figure out. I've always kind of thought, I like being in my room, I like listening to music on my laptop, but does that actually work? Have I ever actually tried going to a library and not listening to music and seeing, contrasting how effective each method is? Like, I genuinely think I could do with some time out of this room. Like, I could benefit from going to the library. I could benefit from taking a 9 to 5 approach with university, saying like from 9 a.m. I'm going to be on campus until 5. Obviously, you have a lunch break and like a break in between there. But just knowing from 9 till 5, this is study time, no hanging out with people for no reason. Like, again, going out for lunch is fine, but no like random hangouts or FIFA sessions or YouTube videos, editing. Like from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, why don't I try that for like a couple of weeks and just see how that works, if that's actually effective? Or do I prefer sitting at my desk with music and on in the back and every hour or so going out to get a snack? Like what actually works best for me? And next year I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to commit, not even next year, like from next week onwards. Today's currently Sunday, I think. Sunday, August 8th, this video is going to come out on the same day. I'm going to edit this quickly, but it's like what actually feasibly works. And then again, once I figured it out, like if I definitely say from 9 till 5 and that actually works for me Monday to Friday, then I know that Saturday, Sunday is completely free. Then I know that 5 until whenever I sleep, let's say like 10ish, let's pull out 10 out of the hat, 5 till 10, I'm free. At that point, at least now I know like every day of the week I've got 5 hours every day plus the whole weekend to do other things that I want to do, and I can commit to that, versus again just kind of being happy-go-lucky, like, oh yeah, I've got some time here to do that, so let me just figure out what I'm going to do. And building around that even if it's not purely like completely solid, even if one day I just don't go to campus, I take a break, I chill, at least I know like the other 4 days I'm going to do it, or at least I know 5 weeks from now that for the previous 5 weeks I've been doing 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, right? And that gives me some sort of stability at least, so I know that I'm somewhere on the journey and not just kind of winging it each day by day. So those are the three things. I mean, fundamentally, I'm going to take an active approach. What I mean by that is I'm going to be in audit mode all the time. Usually, like I always usually was, not even am, because for the last like year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, I haven't really been as active in that as I want to be. But I've always been quite good at self-auditing, like knowing like, you know, spending too much time doing this. Maybe I've got to set up like a timer on my phone to like block Instagram at a certain time, or maybe instead of procrastinating, let me just tidy the room now. I have like a philosophy where it's like, if it's going to be harder to remember it later, just do it now. Like if it's going to be harder to come back and, oh, you know, I lost my watch, let me just like, you know, look for the watch now instead of thinking about it later. And that's something that has kind of fallen by the wayside these last couple of years. So again, having like an active approach, being in self-audit mode, I think can be very, very important. Making necessary sacrifices as and when as well. Like as and when, as in, there's no need to wait like, oh, you know what, let me just finish this challenge, or let me just finish this, or talk to that person. Like there's no perfect time to quit. There's no perfect time to change. There's no perfect time to do anything. It's like, well, not even, it's like, you know, however, there's no perfect time, but however, you have full control of whatever you do at any given moment in time. Like, if someone punches me in the face, I have full control as whether I hit them back, or if I just say, you know what, it's calm, or like, even under, you know, absolute duress, even like under immense pressure, you have total freedom to make whatever choice you have. If someone puts a gun to your head, you can choose, like, I want to get shot. I mean, you have full freedom at any point in time, and using that freedom, you know, using one of my many liberties in life, I'm saying, like, from today, not from tomorrow or next week, like, I'm going to make the necessary changes right here, right now. As the Premier League once called it, you know, Operation Restart, you know, Mission Restart. That's what we're doing now. I'm going to sit down and reset everything. Like, a lot of my friends, as I mentioned, having like leaving parties, birthday parties, graduation parties, like, things are actually happening in real time, so I can actually look and say, you know what, like, now that this person's leaving to that country, or she's starting a new job here, that it makes sense even in the macro picture, let alone, again, going back to my own liberties, I can just stop whenever I want and do whatever I want whenever I want. So using that liberty, you know, point two, making the necessary sacrifices. I'm still going to try and put some work onto YouTube, but again, no longer a priority. UGSG is going to become a priority because it's something that seems to be like people resonate with that. It appears to be each episode gets consistent views. People higher, you know, smarter than me are saying that this is a good idea. Take it more seriously. So I'm going to commit more hours to that as and when I possibly can. But in terms of other things, you know, a lot of stuff's going to have to take the wayside. And a lot of the YouTube ideas, you know, trying to think of new concepts. I'm just not that whole creative element. I'm going to take all of that creative juice out of my head and just put it straight into engineering, straight into that degree. So I'm still, again, going to be able to document my journeys for internships, but in terms of thinking of new stuff and being creative and like review show 3, opinion corner season 2 episode 3, you know, all these things that take more thought and more prep, I'm not gonna have the time for anymore. So my bad, my bad. But you know that it's working towards a bigger picture. Well, at least I know that. And again, I have the full liberty to do what I want. It's my channel, so those are the cards you guys get, and that's my approach fundamentally for third year. The final point again is just taking more of a, you know, an analytical approach to my learning and trying to think, how do I actually learn? Should I be spending more time in the library, or should I spend more time talking to these people? Should I make a group chat with like certain man to, you know, exchange notes? You know, what am I actually going to do proactively for next year that actually benefits me in real time versus, you know, the typical sit back in my room playing music approach? You know, let's actually take data and figure out how to learn. Yeah, and relearn how to learn, especially again in a digital climate. And on that note, we're still going to complete this challenge. Like, the term doesn't officially start until end of September, early October. So from now, you know, early August until early October, the next, you know, 2 months, we're going to be going ham. The content's going to be there. I'm going to make sure that I go into third year with no regrets. Like, I did all the videos that I wanted to do. I did all the podcasts I wanted to do. I saw the people that I wanted to meet. I learned to cook the meals I wanted to learn to cook. And then again, third year, October onwards, is pure engineering. I'm going to hate it. It's going to stress me out, but it's for a greater cause. And at the end of the day, I think we're going to get better videos out of it. Like, it's getting kind of boring every year saying, oh, I failed third year at uni. At least next year I can say how to get a first in engineering. Like, at least even putting my degree more, you know, forward. A lot of my content on UGSG and on the YouTube channel is generally built around my student life and developments anyway. So it's like, it's difficult to make content about uni while not actually doing uni, because at that point it's like, I'm still telling the truth, I'm still giving my honest thoughts, but I'd probably be able to give much better insights if I was actually involved in what I'm doing, let alone like being more free to do it and maybe putting more time into it, maybe putting more purposeful time into it, because sometimes I'm making videos and I'm thinking in the back of my head like, oh, I should be revising. At least now I can be like, I've done all the revision and everything else, now let me actually put proper hours into doing this. So I don't think it's a bad thing. By no means I think this is a negative. I think in every capacity of life this is a positive, especially again appreciating that yes, I'm young, and yes, obviously you continue to get older, but life genuinely is quite long if you make good use of the time you have. Like, I can take 2 years out of this and give it to my degree and then graduate with a first class in 2 years' time and still only be 25 years old. Like, that's kind of crazy to think about that. I mean, 25 is relatively old for a graduate, even a master's graduate, but that's not the point. Like, I can come out of this, I'm 23 now, I can chill, focus on my degree, come out of it in 2 years' time, 25 years old, and then I can put all the time in the world to this YouTube channel, all the time in the world into UGSG, all the time in the world to hanging out with friends or investing in Tesla, whatever it may be. So yeah, having, Gary Vee says, like, I haven't actually engaged in Gary Vee's content in a while, but I've seen him live twice, and he always says this. But I'm trying to get it verbatim, I just can't remember the word for word of what he says. But fundamentally, it's like macro patience, micro speed, or the other way around. I think it's like micro patience, macro speed, or whatever. So it's like fundamentally, in the short term, you want to be moving as quickly as possible, get everything done, get it done, do it now. If you don't need to be sitting around doing nothing, don't be sitting around doing nothing. Like, be active. Of course, taking breaks, eating, sleeping, it's all important as well. Mental health is all important. But when you're just watching Netflix, like, should you be watching Netflix? Like, can you afford to be? Not even that. Like, are you just watching it because you want to, or are you just procrastinating? Like, start using time more purposefully in the short term, and then be patient, because the long run is a long run. The long run actually is a long time. Especially for me right now. I'm single. I've got no kids. I got like siblings that I look after, but I'm not like actively looking after them. They're not my kids. I got all the time, resources. Even though I'm kind of broke right now, like, I know how to make money. If I wanted to do something, if I put my mind to it, I strongly believed I could do it. So it's like, just do it. Do it now. Do it as quickly as possible. Or if you can't do it now, obviously make a plan towards doing it later and then make the steps now to actually get there. But yeah, fundamentally, my approach to third year is, committing to it, taking it seriously, starting today on August 8th. I have a reset. So one of my exams, Engineering Mathematics 2, was cancelled in May, and I gave everyone an automatic pass. And even though, I mean, low-key, I might, I really don't want to have to do it. Like, because it's automatically a pass, I might as well just not do it. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, with maths, if you take a little break, suddenly the juices aren't there anymore. So it's within my best interest to actually sit down, do the learning, not even revise for it, like actually learn what I'm doing, do the exam, and then that'll be a good way to gauge how good I am going into third year. If I get a bad grade, of course I've got a bad grade, I need to put more time into it. If I get a good grade, obviously I still got to put more time into it, because that's just one module out of like 8. And if I want to get a first, which I do really, like, after 7 years of this degree, which I think might even be 8 by the time I graduate, 2016 to 2023, so yeah, 7 years. If I don't get a first, that 16-year-old me, 18-year-old me has every right to time travel into the future and just slap me in the face. Like, the amount of time and money I put into this, like, I'm gonna have to go and get it. But it's like, now, given that I'm going to get a first in 2 years' time, it makes sense to at least, again, instead of just learning that one module, at least while I've got the extra time, put the time into other modules as well. Like, Engineering Maths 2 is like the basis of everything I'm going to learn next year. But it's not, I haven't done any computer programming for a while. Let me just relearn Python. Let me relearn MATLAB. Let me go over my thermodynamics and fluid dynamics notes, and what other modules do I have? Like discrete maths, continuum mathematics, engineering physics. All these modules that sound ridiculously hard, they're not actually that bad, but it's like, they will be that bad if I don't do the preliminary learning first, and get into the groove of things. At least, again, knowing how to learn as well. The same way, like with football, we're going through like a pre-season friendlies. Like, this is like a pre-season. Let me get my brain ready for new content. And with that said, as much as I want to keep going on, that's, I've kind of said my piece. So YouTube, we're gonna have a rocky future. We're gonna have a rocky few years. If you guys are watching, anyone who consistently watches my videos, let me know, because that could very much sway me. As far as I'm concerned, I probably have like 3 to 4 like absolute consistent viewers. A lot of my friends are, oh yeah, it's been a couple of months, but there are some people that I see commenting a lot. You know, shout out to Fatima, shout out to Jack, shout out to, oh my gosh, all you guys are, my bad. I'm a bad host, but I know you guys are out there and I appreciate that. But if it turns out that like 500 million people are, oh nah man, take this more shit, like get back it, I don't want to hear you doing third year seriously, like, then obviously I'll try and put more effort into it. But again, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, I can't see that there's no viable reason to commit more hours to this than is necessary, beyond of course having to focus on my degree and other things. But yeah, if you're out there, let me know and we'll figure some stuff out. But for the meantime, it's been great. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed these 4.5 going on 5 years of making content on YouTube. We're gonna continue. The future is positive. Like, I'm looking up, I'm optimistic, so I hope you guys are as well. But with that all said, let's get it, man. Let's get this degree. Let's get this bread. Internship game season 3 is gonna be so good. Like, I can't even begin to tell you guys how good it's gonna be. Even though I haven't planned or done, like, I'm saying that just for no reason, but I believe it's gonna be the best season of internship game so far. And I say that off the back of getting a spring week at Bank of America, my first internship game. Last year I did a bunch of little springs. I had an internship at Ashton Fire, so I've actually done numbers. I just need to. This year's gonna be that final bit. So yeah, that's it from me. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you in the next one. There are 3 days to go, so let's get it. Peace.